Then I'm going to try to go over to the MLO network. We've got 130 folks watching now. We had about 500 sign up. I had a bunch of people already asking for replays. So as long as you guys are okay with it, I'll make a little YouTube, give it to all of you, and we'll share it with the communities that we're all a part of. So this is us doing what we can to give back to the industry for all the things it's given to us. And clearly you guys are part of the industry, all of you watching, all of you coaches out here, being part of the leader teams, just so much that we could talk about. But I think for today, we're going to focus on what people can do to win, what people can do to make some of the changes that they need to make. And there we go. We're going to be live in the MLO network. Live recording, all this stuff is on track. What I want to focus on is asking you guys questions as to how LOs can focus on what they can control, focus on addressing what they can't control, figure out how to build a compelling future for themselves, get excited about their days, and then learn from the other folks that have been there, pick up some of that wisdom. Now, you top leader coaches, if everybody doesn't know you, I'll let you introduce yourself as we kind of go around the room, but you guys are in a position where you talk to some of the best in the industry every single day, and you're paying attention to what they do. You're getting scientific and geeky about it, and taking notes and just watching. So we're going to ask you to share some of these things that the LOs are doing. Maybe some of them are the same, maybe some of them are different. I always like to say, though, that the only constant in this industry is change. We know for sure that part of the reason the industry is great, it changes so much that it's not an easy industry. So that makes us very, very employable, and in some cases, very highly paid. So let's dive right into it. Cindy already told me she didn't want to go first, so I'm going to spin the wheel here. Oh, and laid it on Carl.
Wait a minute. What happened? What happened to ladies first?
Got him put me in the sandwich somewhere.
What happened about ladies first? Come
Oh
on.
my gosh. So we're going to try to
First, bring it on, whatever.
Carl looks like he's in a radio station right now.
I know, it's fantastic. So Carl, let's let you talk for a little bit. All of us could talk a lot, but let's
could be
listen to
dangerous.
Carl a little
This
bit.
could be dangerous.
Yeah. So I told you yesterday, I'm just going to focus on asking you questions like, what do you think the top folks in your program in the Freedom Club learned last year? What kind of wisdom did they pick up along the way? And what do they need to do to continue moving in 2023 and build a compelling future?
All right. Wow.
I know it's really deep question. Go on. But one or two.
I think, somebody said something the other day that really struck home. First of all, it's an honor to see everybody. And I know Cindy and Khai and Mike, we've been friends for a long time. Me and Khai, I don't know if Khai knows this or not, but Khai, you were the first conference that I ever went to. You were the very first speaker I ever saw in the mortgage industry. And I have to tell you, man, I was so inspired when I saw, I was just getting into business, and I was so inspired. You gave such a great speech. I don't remember what the location was. It was a Loan Toolbox thing back when, and maybe it's still going. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but back when you were part of the Loan Toolbox thing. So it's just an honor to be here. And of course, Cindy's been a industry icon. I was going to say for years and years, but that sounds totally disrespectful. So it's true,
Carl. It's true. Years and years.
Yeah. And Scott, great to meet you. I don't think we've ever spoken face-to-face before. TJ, always a pleasure. Somebody said something the other day that really spoke to me. And they said, the thing I learned last year was I need to prospect even when I don't need to prospect. And so last year, we really didn't need to prospect. I mean, we were all, myself included, in what was it, in 2021, my own personal, I'm still a branch manager. I'm not smart enough like some of the other people and focusing full-time on training, which I think is an excellent thing to do. But my own personal team did about $2 billion in 2021. And so I was, patting myself on the back, telling me how smart I was. And then the calendar changed to 2022. And it was like, oh, come to find out, you do still have to prospect even when you're hitting it out of the park. And so I'd say the biggest thing that I've learned is prospect even when you don't need to, even when you're having a great month or great week or great year or great quarter or whatever. is, dance with the one that brung you. Never, never, never stopped prospecting. And I think that's something we all kind of, fell back into. But I think we have to be careful. Like when we talk about this past year, 2022, and perhaps maybe even likely 2023, we all feel like we've got a headwind here. And I would caution everybody, I think, my belief, that's not the case. But I think what happened is we were all riding an electric bicycle going down a hill with a tailwind the last couple of years. And then suddenly when it just kind of flattens out and gets back to what, I know for me and Khai and Cindy, been doing this for, decades, and maybe you too, Scott, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, maybe decades and decades, like literally, like for us, what's happened, we just gone back to normal, and normal feels like a headwind when you've been coasting downhill on an electric bicycle. And so I think things have just gotten back to normal. And those of us that are, still winning. So last month, I don't remember the exact number. I think my team, we closed like 321 loans last month, still a very respectable, and obviously that's a team, a very respectable numbers. And was it the numbers we did in 2021? No, it's not. It's down. It for sure is. But I can tell you the reason why it's down. It's not down because of marketing. It's down because we fell asleep at the wheel and we stopped prospecting. We were so busy trying to close the loans and leads that we had that we got lazy, or we didn't get lazy. We lost our focus and didn't keep prospecting. So man, no matter what happens, always keep prospecting. Keeping into that, in my belief system, a 32-hour work week. Keep prospecting, even when you're having a great week or great month or great quarter. That's the biggest thing that I've learned. And it's just really just going back to the basics. There's still loan officers. I talked to a loan officer Tuesday that in July closed 0 loans. And this month he has 12 loans scheduled to close the month of January. So he went from 0 in July to 12. And so incredible growth can still happen as long as we actually, take action and make things happen and don't wait until things get better.
I love it, Carl. That's fantastic. I'm going to zip over to Cindy, but I know, last time I had you on, I think you and I were talking about just the total number of transactions that's out there and the fact that loan officers can be mobile and can work in different states. And that pie is so big. There's so much out there in industry. And yes, last year was down a little, this year's down a little, but compared to what? Compared to,
that's a great point. Cause if you look at the numbers and man, I'm getting ready to do a thing for a company and I got a chart, but I was looking at the chart of on purchase deals closed last year. I think it was like in volume, it was like the second or third best year ever. And so we have to be real careful that we don't, well, boy, it sucks right now because it doesn't. This is literally the second or third best year ever. And if you keep that mindset and go, okay, there's a lot of people getting stuff. I need to be one of those people getting stuff. Man, it's a good opportunity. And I've seen, talk with some of Khai's and Cindy's, only because I know them better. Some of their, we have mutual friends that are some in their coaching groups and just doing spectacular, like really good. Not everybody, but those that are taking action. You just have to know that it can be done. People are doing it all over the place. The question is, are you going to be one of them? Or are you going to just sit and watch everybody else get it?
I love it. It's fantastic. So Cindy, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Fantastic. All right. So, similar question to you. You can take it a little different direction though. Carl already mentioned that you've got some higher level producers and people that really, their numbers haven't changed a whole lot. They're not quite down. I mean, they're still kicking butt. You kind of run some teams and branches and things like that as well in your spare time. What are your people doing that is keeping that momentum up?
Well, I mean, look, there was no question. It was a really big kind of eye opener. I think it was in mid-fall. And I got 3 calls within a 24-hour period. And these were 3 men, probably mid-50s that I coached. And they're huge producers. I mean, all between 100 and 200 million in production. And all 3 of them called for one reason, because the wheels fell off their mindset, basically is what happened. And that was the train wreck last year that I saw throughout the entire year. Is yes, business was down, but more importantly, the level of what it did to everybody's mindset and really leveled people's confidence, because as rates started to tick up so quickly, realtors, they didn't have their messaging down really soundly, so that the message to their realtor partners, the message to the clients really wasn't that strong. And they started to feel like their realtors were no longer trusting them, even though they had nothing to do with the market changing, right? So it really became a mindset focus for me in coaching, like first and foremost, because that was what starts to switch people's game, because you got to get the head right first. And the key is confidence. And a lot of people lost it. So what I really found is that really getting people to focus on less and go deep. And, like, you got to turn off the noise. Like, seriously, stop watching the news, stop being all over social. It's really, really important to focus on income and relational activities each and every day. And one of the things I really got everybody focused on was on the phone with one of my clients here in Southern California. And she said, oh my gosh, she runs a branch. She had 2 loans funding, and this was in September. And she panicked, and she's going to lose her 15-year LOA because she has no business. And I said, why? Like, are you calling your past clients? She's like, no. She goes, well, I don't really even know what to say. And she's been in the business 25 years. So we sat together. I said, let's craft a script right now for her past clients, asking 6 questions. And the reality is, I said, let's use your LOA differently right now. You got no business. Let's have her call, your clients every single day. So Lindsay started calling 10 clients a day, asking the questions, because people don't think they have to refi with the 2.5% interest rate. So we've got to educate them as to how to use their equity. We've got more equity and property in America than ever in history. And what people aren't focused on is there's also more debt in this country right now and less savings than ever before in America. So there's opportunities that we don't even know are in front of us unless we make that call. And we're asking those clients about, talk to me about, many people racked up debt during COVID. Many people lost jobs and were living off credit cards. There is a client that's on this call right now who told me a story about her client when she presented the debt consolidation loan, that her client, she saved him $1,600 a month, because I'm not sure that client would have ever picked up the phone to call her. You know who I'm talking about, because you're listening right now. But it's pretty magnificent when you realize, once you pose those questions. I used to put in, the bee in everybody's bonnet, my clients, when I would call my past clients about utilizing your equity to expand your wealth in real estate. And it was so great, because they would say, no, I'm good. And then, they'd get to talking, and 2 weeks later, you get the call saying, hey, we were at dinner having a conversation. We thought maybe we should talk to Cindy. Maybe we should look at buying a second home, or buying an Airbnb or another investment property, and expanding our wealth through real estate. So that's a lot of how, and then asking people, how long do you want to be in your current home? Updating their database records, right? Do I have the right cell phone information? Asking who they know that might be in need of getting pre-qualified for a loan, or might need to pull cash out of a property, or, needs money. But we have to plant the seeds each and every day. And so my clients that were focused on 2 things, past client database and education. And I mean, doing education events, motivating and inspiring realtors. One of my top clients switched companies last January, moved across country. Second month there, did 10 million a month, got up to about 20 million a month in last year. I think she's in the top 10. She's only been in the business 7 years, but she was focused on the right activities. Just last week, in one day, she had 7 virtual coffee appointments with 7 new agents. And I'm like, that's what we're talking about. That is called focused attention to building relationship and income generating activities. And that gets me excited. And that's what we got to do this year. Like, blinders are on. 2022 is behind us. What do you should have been doing last year that you just didn't do? It's time to just kick, fear to the side, and let's just go. Why play small, right?
Right, Cindy, I'm going to play the role of the naysayer LO. I hear you, Cindy. I know I need to do all these things, but man, I don't want to be pushy, and I don't want to be salesy. And, I already send all these things out, all these emails in my CRM and all the mail to my past clients. I don't want to bother them.
Cool, quit. So there's more deals for the rest of us.
Right.
If you can't turn in a loan application, you should turn in a job application, because the industry is not for you. And I hate to be so blunt.
Yeah.
Well, look, at the end of the day, you got to switch that around, because I was never considered myself a salesperson. I never calculated a commission on a loan in my entire life. my success and financial success came from just wanting to help more people. And it really is about, you know, you're not in the sales business, you're in the service industry to serve other people. And so 100% of my, to this day, it's value, value, value. It's never been about what can I do for you? It's like, what can I do to help you be successful, Mr. Realtor? I want to meet with you and I want to have a marketing strategy session once a quarter with you so that I can help you effectively market your business. You know, I run a training called Connection to Conversion on how to conduct the first meeting and how to conduct the second meeting. And by the time I do the second meeting, which is the marketing meeting, you don't have to know anything about marketing to conduct this meeting. It's just people lose the fact that all you're trying to do is get in front of them to build relationship, and it's about them.
Mhm.
When you ask 10 marketing questions, because marketing is about growth, so people get excited to talk about growth. And then it's just a matter of asking questions. My marketing meetings are my favorite thing in the world. I still do them once in a while because I turned all my business over to my production partner. And to me, it's fun, right? You're just sitting with your partner and asking them questions about, you know, what are you doing to market your business right now? You know, what's working for you in this market? What's not working for you? What do you know you need to be doing that you're not doing? You know, are you doing video to market your listings? Are you doing video to market to your client base? Do you have a CRM and a database? Are you staying in front of your own past clients? Because realtors are very poor at it compared to most mortgage originators. So
Hey, Cindy, can I ask you a quick question?
jump in.
Hey, if you were to tell like somebody on this call, and I hope this is okay, Mike, but if you were to tell somebody on this call, hey, whatever you do, as soon as you get off this call, go do this thing. What would that one thing be?
Go call 10 past clients and ask them 6 questions about their property.
Mm.
Because your past clients, I was on a Dave Savage the last year on call for Mortgage Coach, just because I did that while I was cooking New Year's dinner. And I was listening to that call and I forget the name of the loan officer. He was saying, had an incredible year last year because every morning from 8 to 9, he called his past client database the entire year and he killed it. And I thought there's so much gold in your past client database. And it's still probably, I don't know what the rest of you experience this as coaches, but still the number one thing that I find that even many top originators do not know how to send an email from their database or don't have a database where they have the capacity. I tell everybody, you need to have a CRM or a database where you can write your own email at the click of a button to your whole past client database and have a system around it. Because my whole business was systematized. On the first of the month, I sent an email to my whole past client database, which when I turned over my business, I had 4,500 past clients. I could write that email in 10 minutes. Sometimes I was pulling Barry Habib nuggets or giving him an update about a product, or maybe it was a live event we were leading. And I could send that at the click of a button. And then I would email my 100 realtors. I didn't work with 100 realtors, but that's what I chose to have in my database. And I emailed them on the 1st and the 15th religiously for over 30 years. And I hard mailed them every quarter religiously. Never, it was a system, but it really is, sorry, my voice is fine. But anyway, I just am so passionate about, we have gotten away from the practice of being in front of people. And if I gave my client yesterday, I said, and I've been coaching him for 8 years. I said, all right, we're changing it up. We're getting rid of fear and we're going for bold. We're not playing small anymore. It is time, you guys. 2022 is a rough year for everybody. And now you got a decision to make, because it starts with the choice, right? That I'm going to be great this year. I'm not going to be good. I'm going to be great.
You muted, Mike.
I know everyone knows I'm not great at Zoom. I do things wrong. If people are already like, oh, the speaker view. Okay, I'm working on it. We're getting there. We're getting there. So Cindy, everyone keeps asking, like, is there somewhere I can go on your page and find these 6 questions, or is there a link that you have you could drop in the chat, or is there a way I can learn a little bit more about these questions? Because some people do struggle with the scripting. Could you maybe like walk through one of them or share some of that just real quick, and then we'll zip over to Khai, because you've been talking about systems and I'm watching Khai get excited. He's really excited over there. He wants to talk.
On my website, which is just Cindy Ertman, CindyErtman.com. There's a button right at the top, which is schedule a strategy call. You can just click on that button. There's a little form. You can just say, you can put in there and ask to send the past client database call script, and I'm happy to send that to you, because just that will give you the format, very, very simple, a very effective format for the questions to ask to your past client database. And then I'm happy to also share my marketing questions as well, because that meeting is really fun to lead. And look, at the end of the day, your realtor partners want to talk about growth. They've had a really rough year too. And that's why we've got to get our mindset right, because we need to be motivating and inspiring them. And my top producers are telling me that it has never been easier to get in front of realtors than it is right now, because they really need you. So, I mean, the one thing that I did, probably the number one thing in my entire career that many people do not show up for themselves, is you've got to focus on building and growing your business every single day. I had my 1 hour, and I did not call it time blocking. I called it my growth hour. I was in a physical office with a sign on my door from 10 to 11 every single morning. I had 32 LOs working for me and 65 staff. And that sign was up saying, do not disturb Cindy's growth hour. And I was religious about building my business for an hour a day, and it paid off. It took me to 230 million in production. So it takes dedication, and it's not hard. It's really just getting in front of people. The one with the most friends wins. It's relationships, right?
Now I'm really confused, because you're talking about blocking your day and having a power hour, but you're also talking about systems. So I don't know whether to go to Khai or Scott next, because Scott loves the calendar. Khai loves the systems. Khai, you're up next.
Scott's the antsy one, not me.
Age before beauty, bro. Go, Kai.
Scott's the antsy one, not me.
So you've heard all the questions, Khai. Where do we go next? What do we talk about next?
So I'm going to add to what everybody's saying. So there's always a basic fundamental, right? It's like doing push-ups when you're trying to stay in shape. But I'm going to add a lot more information, because I think that this is actually an extremely different market. I think it's a normal market in terms of volume that we can expect compared to like a 2019 or 2017 or something like that. But it's a much different market, and we're going into a much different mortgage world. And I think that this is something that everybody has to recognize. So let's first talk about MMI numbers. Okay. So when I MMI all of my top producers, we have something that is extremely like stark and startling compared to before. There was a time 15 years ago that somebody could do 100 units with like 15 referral partners. And that's just not the case anymore, because realtors aren't doing that much business. It's kind of sad, but I think the average realtor is like doing 3 to 5 transactions a year, right? So sometime in February, I MMI'd my top producers, and I could do it now. I had a top producer. He was 178 units year to date. Took him 105 referring realtors. So it's like a 50% ratio right now. If you want to do 100 units in 2023, you need like 50 referring realtors. Yeah, your good realtors, the ones that are doing like a lot of top production, that's going to be like your top 15. But then you need like another 35 that are literally going to give you like 1 or 2. I have top producers where like 65 of them only give them 1 transaction a year, because that's probably all they're doing. So I think what's happening right now is that there's like a lot of insanity where people are doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And here's what I mean by that. We go out here and we go out to seminars and we learn a lot of these like really great things, and we learn a lot of these really great techniques, but we're doing it to the same people over and over and over and over again. And that's not going to get you better results, because they don't have business to give you. You can continue to beat down the same door on the same realtor, but they don't have any more business. So we have a problem there. So what we have to do is we have to expand our actual marketing and our actual like our target. You know, if we keep beating the same, if you look in your market, you try to beat the same 60 realtors over and over again, those 60 realtors are maybe doing like 100 units a year, and it's you and everybody else. So my top producer, she did just 400 units this year, like just under 400 units this year. And what's interesting is that she only did 25% of her business, which is like 80 units in her local market, in her local state, because she decided that she just had to go branch out. So I think one of the misconceptions that we have as loan officers is that we think too much like salespeople, where we always think like, what is like the sales technique that I have to do? But we try the sales technique to like the same person over and over and over again. So it's like if you're single and you're like, I can't find anybody to date. It's like, dude, you keep going to the same bar, hitting on the same girl. I know that you're coming in wearing something nicer the next time, but it's still the same target, right? You got to like branch out. So what it really is it's having a marketing mindset and saying like all the best originators I know have a marketing mindset, and they have target markets. So like what Cindy's talking about, that's a marketing mindset, having a target market of debt consolidation So you have to ask yourself, like, what are your target markets? Is it debt consolidation? Is it VA? Is it builder business? You can't just say my target market is realtors and past clients and database, because then you're going to still beat the same database over and over again and the same realtors over and over again. And I think that once you shift from a sales mindset to a marketing mindset, that's really where you're going to do a lot of business, because you can kind of be mediocre at sales if you have a huge marketing. You either have to be really good at marketing so that you have a big enough span, or you got to be really good at sales to convert the people that you're constantly putting yourself in front of, or you got to be really good at both, right? But you can't be mediocre at both. You can't be like kind of okay at sales going after the same target market, right? So you have to also, you got to recognize too that like the industry is changing. You know, the average consumer right now is a millennial. You know, millennials are 40. When did millennials become 40? Jesus, it's like I'm Gen X, right? And so here's the difference. You know, 15 years ago, Gen X was the primary consumer. So now we have millennials as the primary consumer. You know what the difference is? Millennials don't pick up the phone. Neither do Gen Z. So we employ a lot of topics now about how to craft even the perfect text just to get a response. Okay. And also the thing about millennials is that millennials consume differently. What they do is they do a lot of research on the internet. And after they talk to you, they're going to then go research it and validate what you said. So that's why you have a lot of rate shopping situations. You have millennials that'll go to, you know, the internet to look for homes first, and how they will just vet people. So you have to learn different techniques, because, you know, there was a time that when we used to buy, the older generation, I know I look like I'm really young, but I'm Asian. I could be 17. I could be 76. You don't even know, right? I mean, for Carl to look at me and say, you're like the first mortgage speaker that I've ever seen. It's like, what is this kid, like 14 when he first
And
spoke?
I was in
You know what
high
I mean?
school. I was in high school
Right?
at the time.
But like, here's the reality. Back in my day, the way I knew about things, I would watch television, right? And I would see a commercial. I'd see something and then like, I want to buy that, right? But the reality is that people don't watch TV anymore. So like, this is the television of today. And what you have to realize is that how many hours do people consume on this device? It's like 3 to 6 hours a day. Some people consume 8 hours a day. And so let me ask you this question. If you had a chance to be on the Super Bowl commercial costs millions of dollars. If you can have a Super Bowl commercial for free to talk about your mortgage business, would you do it? Well, the thing is that this is a Super Bowl. More people watch this than they watch the Super Bowl. And you can be on this for free every single day, creating impressions in front of people every single day for free. But you don't realize that, right? And so what I'm trying to do too, is I'm trying to help people get past barriers of content, because what they'll say is they'll say, well, I see what you're saying, Khai, and I know I have to do video and I know I have to post content, but I don't know what to post. And what people have to realize is that you're already doing really, really good things every single day. So the first thing that I tell people is that you need to start conducting all of your client consultations on Zoom. No more phone calls, because especially in today's bar, they want to see visuals. They want to see things that are like educated. Okay. So I help people create slide decks. I help people create a really, really good Zoom presentation and atmosphere, because who wants to explain PMI over the phone? Who wants to explain impounds over the phone? So you're going to have a slide deck. You're going to do this really good visual presentation. And then from there, you're going to record it, because then you can tell your bar, hey, listen, I have a recording for you. You can watch it. You can show it to your spouse, and you can share that with your friends and make it go viral. Now, what's really cool about the Zoom presentations is that, think about a really good client consultation that you had with your borrower, where you had this beautiful explanation of PMI. Okay. So now you can take these videos, you can slice up 30 seconds of how you talked about PMI, and then post that on social. You don't need to create a separate video to do that. You're talking about stuff every single day. You just have to record what you do, and you have content every single day. I have over 300, 400 recorded hours of content. I mean, Carl probably has hours and hours of recorded content. Gary Vaynerchuk, Joe Rogan, that's all they do. They just record what they do every single day. And that's how you get on social. That's how you get basically on television for free. And so we just have this huge, kind of like shift, because if you look at the numbers, we're competing more than ever. It's like having a family of 10 siblings, but there's only enough food for 2. So you either have to be better at sales, you have to be better with your sales presentation, or you got to be better at marketing. You got to go out to different markets. I look at people and I say, if you want to do 5 loans a month, it's not that hard. It's hard if you're trying to find a girl going to the same bar every single day. It's hard if you're trying to beat down the same 35 realtors every single day. But it's not hard if you think to yourself, there's 50 states in this nation. You can get licensed in any states. We're not realtors that have to go to lock boxes every single day. I don't need a local presence. I can do a loan in Maine if I want to. So I believe every originator has to be licensed in 5 states. Because if you wanted to do 5 states with 10 cities, that's 50 cities. How many different markets are in there? I could do one loan in a different market every single month for the rest of the year, and I can still do 100 units. But you have to open up your broad marketing scope. And big originators that I work with, I mean, I think a lot of people know like Denise Donahue, for example. She did over 600 units this year.
This year.
Her reach is so broad when it comes to marketing, and her sales technique is just, it's on point. And so you got to look at marketing and you got to look at sales. And trust me when I say, I'm an absolute believer in daily disciplines. I'm an absolute believer in the basics, but remember, those are basics. Like, it's like push-ups are basics, but if I really want to grow in this market, I need steroids, straight up steroids. I need legal steroids. And there's a lot of legal steroids that are available to us that we have to, take advantage of, I think. And I think that's a difference, because you can't, what you want to do is there's a lot of new people in this market, which is kind of good and bad, right? It's like good to start in a bad market because that's how you know, but it kind of sucked too, because it's like a really hard market. So how does like a new person compete against veterans? Sometimes I'll look at a veteran that's doing like 150 million and they're like, oh yeah, I normally do 150 million. I did 80 million this year. It's like, dude, nobody feels sorry for you. You know what I mean? Like, you have such a big database, but like, how does a new person compete? And so you got to have better tools. You got to have to better outreach, and you just have to understand the market, and you have to have a certain mindset, in order to attack. So I know that was my big dump, Mike, but I'm really passionate about just people understanding it in a much different business way, because I think that we've been programmed for a long time that you just have to wake up at 5 o'clock, make your gazillions of calls and start over. And that works, but not to the same 100 people every single day. One of my top producers, he does about 200 units a year. And this year he's still going to do like 130 units. And so he decided to make a list using MMI of the top 150 realtors in his area, in his city. And then so we did like this mastermind plan, and he's put himself in front of 80 of them so far, right? In 8 weeks, 80 in 8 weeks. So I asked him this question. I said, you've been in the business for 21 years and you do on average 180 units. You'll still do 150 units this year. How many of those top 150 have you met for the very first time? He's like, I have to admit, I've only met 30 of them for the first time. And so he's done a really good job turning the same people over and over again, but he admitted he's not good at marketing and expanding his reach. And this is the first time he's expanding his reach, right? And we've got tools to do that. So anyways, that's my dissertation.
Quick, I just want to say, that was so great, because the other thing too, when I look at some of the clients this year that are up, and there's a handful of my clients that are up like by 20%.
Yeah.
And they really believe that is due to their social reach.
Yeah.
One of my clients became super involved in social. She swore she was never going to do social. 2 years ago, she decided to just forget it. I'm going for it, and got on doing video on a regular basis. People now all over the country follow her, Sue Meitner. And one of the things that's been so incredible with Sue is that she didn't bank on this. She's getting referrals from all over the country for loans in Pennsylvania for people that are not licensed in Pennsylvania because of her social reach. But her business is actually up this year, which is really amazing, because not, very few people's is, but she totally attributes social to that.
I'd like somebody to do their next 50 loans from realtors and people that haven't met yet. You know what I mean? Because again, I'm not dismissing or discounting anything people are saying. I think people do actually a really bad job of keeping in touch with their database. As far as I'm concerned, those people have never heard about you before. You know what I'm saying? So I 100% agree with you, Cindy. If somebody's not calling their database, that might as well be new people, right? But for the people that have exhausted their database, there's still millions more people. There's still hundreds of more realtors in the country that you haven't touched, and stop beating the same one, because as far as you know, those 35 realtors, they're 100% want to give you business, but they haven't done a transaction in like 4 months. And that's the problem,
Right.
And then they got to give it to somebody else because they had to bring their other lender in, And so this is just adding on top of like if you look at the basis of what Carl and Cindy's doing, like, yeah, you can have a really great year, but what I try to do is I try to look at it and say, what's that extra give that people need, especially the new people, because the new people is hard. Like, you look at a new person and they're like, but I don't have a database to call. Right. So then I say, everybody, like, I actually stole this from Scott. I think this is a good introduction to Scott. Everybody has a 1,500 person database. How do we know? Because most people have at least 1,000 people on their phone. That's a start. And then you have at least most people have at least 2,000 people in social. That's a database. And then you have your actual database, which is sad. Your actual database is like your smallest, like 200 people, but you don't realize your database is bigger, So Mike, I just teed up Scott for you because I stole that from him.
You did. Well, speaking of dumping a lot of stuff out there, Scott, are you ready?
Yeah, man.
Bring it, Scott.
The first thing I imagine the avatar of the person on this call is like 5 years plus in the business, had a couple amazing years, just had a really shitty year. And that's okay, man. Like, we probably all just need a little bit of a reprieve to realize, like, I heard this from Casey Crawford, the CEO of Movement, who I used to work for, who heard it from, Bill Belichick, who heard it from Bill Walsh, who was like, you're never as good as your best season, and you're never as bad as your worst season when you're a professional athlete. Like, sometimes the ball breaks for you, and sometimes the ball breaks against you. So if you just had a really rough year and you're feeling kind of down in the gutter, which I'll be honest, I am, because we did not adjust and pivot early in the year enough to a lot of the stuff that Kai's talking about, right? Like my top producers who were absolutely good for 5 to 10 deals a year, I maybe got a deal or two out of them this year, right? And then a couple of my top producers, they now work for Compass. Well, Guaranteed Rate launched their in-house mortgage company with Compass, and they are browbeating those agents at a level that I don't even understand to use the in-house resources, right? So for a different reason than what Khai was mentioning, we never know when our top producers are going to quit the business, go on maternity leave, lose a spouse and decide to go on a 6-month sabbatical, change companies and feel, shamed into using the in-house lender. And so pivoting to a much wider swath of people is important. And I wrote about this in my book. I'll throw a link down there in the chat in a bit. I talked about this with my former business partner, Justin, who's a great guy. He's a little bit more of a sniper and wants to pick off one relationship at a time. I have tended to enjoy going wider. And then I stopped doing that when COVID happened because everybody in Southern California locked down. So we couldn't do 30-person lunch and learns. We couldn't do happy hours. We couldn't do the stuff that had worked for me habitually over my career, right? And so just if you had a shitty 2022, which I think a lot of people did, just like take a sigh of relief. I was talking to somebody the other day who was like, yeah, I got really used to those $100,000 a month paychecks. And I'm like, look, man, you work really hard. I know how hard you work because you're one of my coaching clients. And I understand it's frustrating when you get used to that money. And my mom has worked for Rite Aid since 1986 as a pharmacist clerk. She's never made more than $45,000 in a year. So we are insanely blessed in this industry to kind of make the money that we make and have the kind of opportunity that we have in this industry. And if cyclically, once every 5, 10, or 20 years, you get kicked in the balls like we did in 2022, that's okay. That's okay. Like Khai said, if that dissuades you from wanting to be in the business and you're not submitting loan applications, then go submit job applications. That's okay, man. This career is not for everybody. So just, a little bit of a mindset shift of like, it's going to be okay, right? If you can't find a way to live off of $25,000 a month because you were used to making $100,000 a month, well, then A, work harder, or B, read a book from Dave Ramsey about how to get your financial ship in order, right? Because we need to understand this as an industry. So just a little bit of a mindset thing is like, none of us are as good as we were in 2020, right? We just got lucky. And none of us are as bad, 2021. And none of us are as bad as we were in 2022. So just accept that. And the next thing I'd love to piggyback on what Khai was saying is like, don't mistake marketing and branding for lead generation. The part of the story that Khai didn't tell you is that after you put up the social media, after you're, the gal in Pennsylvania who has large reach, you have to ask for the business, right? There's no use in having a video. If Fisher logs on today and says some great VA pitch about why realtors should accept VA loans, and that video goes viral, which in our industry is, 10,000, 20,000 views. If he doesn't then go in and interact with those people that commented on the thread, or call the realtors who liked the post, or start some conversations to actually sell something, well, then that's great. You put up a video, but what you're really doing is you're just hiding behind social media. And so, the part of the story that Khai didn't tell you, this is behind the scenes, once you start paying for coaching, is that you've got to do something with that activity, right? You've got to put up the social media, you've got to trim the clips, you've got to get out there, you've got to cast a wide net. But at some point, you have to ask for the business. Because if not, then you're just playing on TikTok and pretending like you're busy, but you're really not being productive. So
yeah, Scott, somebody said in chat, not to interrupt you, but it's like, do we go too wide versus going deep? It's like, no, you still want to go deep. You still want to be good at sales. You still want to close. You still want to ask for the business. It's just stop doing it to the 35. You got to make your target like 100 now or 200, but then go like super, super deep, right? But it's a complex thing because now you have to go deep with a lot more people, but that's the reality of this market. But the key is that you can't go deep, let's say, just by doing phone calls. You have to take advantage of technology tools and things like that allow you to scale. This is a scaling game.
Right. Scott, quick question for you, just because I get asked this all the time. How do you ask for business?
How do I ask for business?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who hasn't read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss is a moron. Like, if you're in this business, we'll put a link to that book too. If you haven't read Chris Voss's Never Split the Difference, you shouldn't be a loan officer. And he has to phrase it in a way that allows the person to give you an authentic no, right? So I'm constantly saying to realtors, as I've got reinvigorated the last couple of months to reach out to everybody, I'm constantly asking realtors like, hey, Cindy, any reason I shouldn't expect a referral from you in the next, pick a time frame, 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, depending on what their business is. Because when I phrase it that way, hey, any reason I shouldn't expect a referral from you, right? And look, I do the whole sales thing. We sit through a 45-minute coffee. We talk about family. We go deep. We go personal. But then if you just walk away from that coffee appointment feeling good, that's all that's going to happen. And in 90 days, you're going to see somebody, that same realtor, on social media at the Dodger game with your arch nemesis, closing deals with them because you didn't ask for the business. So we have to ask. And look, it does not roll off the tongue naturally. Trust me, the first time I did it, I remember I was at this coffee shop in Pasadena, Colorado, this little hipster spot. I had to excuse myself to go to the restroom and practice it in the mirror once or twice, where it's like, hey, Khai, any reason I shouldn't expect a referral from you in the next 7 days? Hey, I think we had a really great meeting. Feel like there's like a connection point here. We're both Steelers fans. Both our kids go to the same school. Hey, we've been kind of flirting with the idea of doing business together. Is there any reason I shouldn't expect a referral from you in the next 7 days? Because one of the things that will happen, one of two things will happen. Either you will plant in their subconscious and their conscious, because they have to say it out loud. They have to say, yeah, Scott, you're a great guy, man. I think I do have a referral for you. I've been talking to my cousin Cindy, who needs to refinance a house because she's paying off debt and buying this new business. Let me get you in touch with Cindy. So you either get them to reaffirm to you why they're going to work with you, right? It's like this old Jedi mind trick. Or almost as importantly, they say, no, you know what, Scott, you're a great guy, man. I love having coffee with you. But the reality is, Carl White's my golfing buddy. He's actually married to my sister. And if I don't give him—
And much more handsome.
Yes. If I don't give him every one of my referrals, Thanksgiving dinner is going to be awkward. So you're a great dude. Maybe you'll be there as a backup. But Carl's my guy. Hey, cool, man. That's a win too, because now I know not to focus on that guy, not to invite him, maybe to my happy hours, and just say, look, I've heard great things about Carl. I know he runs like an A+ branch. One of the things that we're exceptional at is self-employed jumbo borrowers. So give every single one of your deals to Carl. But if you happen to get somebody in that jumbo category, they're buying over $1 million, they start to tell you they're self-employed, they work in the movie industry, that might be a deal that we're a little bit more equipped. I'd love to, have an at-bat to be your backup, right? But if you're not closing with the ask, you're not going to get the business. You're going to be friend zoned, right? You're going to be like the sweet guy in the romantic comedy who never gets laid because you're in the friend zone and you're not actually asking for the business. And so please do everything that Khai just said with the social media, especially do everything with Cindy. One of the stats that I love from Dave Savage is he said, in a normalized database of potential home buyers, which everybody who's already bought a home is a potential home buyer, and people that have raised their hand and called you to get pre-approved. is a potential home buyer. In a normalized database of potential home buyers, about 7% of those people will buy a home, refinance, or buy an investment property in any 12-month period. So if you've got a database of 1,000 people, there's 70 deals there that are 100% going to happen in 2023. You just have to stay in front of them to make that happen. So let's say you get an at bat at, half of half. That's 15, 20 deals, right? Then you do Kai's strategy of like casting a wider net. Now you've got 120 realtors, which maybe 40 of them get together with you and do a consult, and you go deep, like Carl said, right? And now of those 40, 20 of them refer you a couple deals. You get 2 or 3 deals each, or 1 deal each. All of a sudden you start cobbling together 40, 45, 50 deals. You start marketing within the transaction where every deal leads to another deal. And before you know it, you're like, oh, I'm kind of just doing the basics methodically, and I'm back to 100 deals a year, or I'm at least back to that foundational revenue of 40 or 50 deals a year that'll put 200 grand in my pocket. So those are kind of the things that I was thinking about. And then the last thing is, we've got, I think we only closed, myself in Dallas, I'm doing kind of what you did, Cindy. I'm handing over my book of business to my business partner, Dallas, who's awesome, but she's also just cutting her teeth for the first time as a full-time loan officer, So we closed 4 or 5 deals last month. We'll close a couple this month. But the thing that's making me very comfortable right now is controlling the controllables. When I look at Total Expert, in the last 120 days, we've created $32 million of new pre-approvals. So like the only thing that's keeping me sane, because I'm used to doing like double-digit loans every month, is like, all right, we're still controlling the controllables. We're making the calls. We're doing the outbound prospecting. The market currently is not cooperating, but knowing that we took in $8-9 million a month of pre-approvals, as long as we stay in front of them, those will pop eventually. So whatever your version of controlling the controllables are, posting 3 times a day on social media, calling 10 past clients to set up annual reviews, calling 20 new realtor relationships, whatever coaching program you're in, whatever thesis you subscribe to, if you're doing those things and you're controlling the controllables, at night, you won't freak out and have insomnia and have to watch movies on Netflix from 2 to 4 in the morning, because you'll be like, look, the market's not cooperating right now. Luckily, we had a couple great years, so I have some savings. And now I can look at the numbers and be like, I'm making the calls. The leads are coming in. The credit pulls are coming in. The pre-approvals are getting designed. We'll get there eventually. But if you're not doing the activities and you're not controlling the controllables, you're in for a real shitty year in just your own mental headspace. That's all I got.
I love it, dude. That was
I think you
fantastic.
should work on your energy, Scott, though, just a little bit. You might want to do another 45 on the treadmill.
I'm super low energy.
That's why I don't want to follow Scott.
Oh my gosh, I know. How does anyone do that? All right. We got about 25-30 minutes left here. Carl, we're going to go back to you, but I'm going to switch this up a little bit here. People always ask us about, something Khai mentioned, the presentations and what do my activities actually look like? I've watched you for a long time. I've been kind of following what you're doing in the Breakfast Club. You can go ahead and tell people how to join that. And I got to figure out how to get you spotlighted here. Just overall activities, like getting more granular. I'm going to let TJ ask some of these questions. I threw a bunch of them out there. I bullet pointed a lot of them. TJ, you're really, really good at getting granular on some of these daily activity stuff. Ask Carl a couple questions. Let's talk a little bit about some of the activities, and we'll go around one more time and talk more about like specific things that people do.
Yeah. Now, well, everybody, this has been great. Like, I was really content just to sit back and just actually observe today. And this has been phenomenal for MLOnet. Anyone that's watching, every single member of this panel has given us tools and nuggets and information. And the really cool thing is they can all be combined together. Like, every single person has given you something that's built on to the next piece that creates that symbiotic relationship where 1 and 1 equals 3 versus 1 and 1 equal 2. And Scott, I'm really proud of you for keeping it as clean as you did. That's like really, impressive on your behalf, buddy.
I didn't say the F word one time.
Not one time. Only like 2 or 3 inappropriate things for your whole 20 minutes. So,
Although I mentioned cocaine when I didn't realize the video webinar
Right.
started. Sorry.
and now that we're recording as well. So thank you. So, hey, Carl, always a pleasure to speak with you. And just as a big fan, it's funny. I heard Khai mention expanding your territory. And I remember it reminded me of a video that you did years ago with your coffee mug, right? You're like, this is your territory, get a bigger coffee mug and draw that circle around there. So kind of just, again, expanding on some of the things that we've spoken about, going out a little bit larger. What are you having your people do? What do you suggest to our team here?
You know, that's a, so one thing you're going to find, everybody has their own methods of being successful. And there's definitely more than one way to skin a cat. For me, like the story you talked about of the bigger cup is I my first business coach called him up, called him up, and he said, "What are you?" "I'm a loan officer. I want to write more loans." He said, "What's your market?" And I told him what actually a guy, kind of a famous guy, Dan Kennedy, for those of us in the marketing world, what Dan Kennedy told me to do was get a map, put a dot where my office is, get a cup, put it over the map, draw a circle, and inside that circle is my market. He said, this business coach said, "Well, Carl, this is going to be a very short but very profitable call." I said, "Well, give me what you got." He said, "Go get a bigger cup." And it's never been a better time or easier to do that, because people, it used to be, if you're not in my backyard, I don't want to talk to you, about it as a loan officer. But, I think we can thank, Quicken and Rocket Mortgage and basically just the internet in general, that it's a much, bigger world, smaller world than ever before. And people are used to talk to people all over the country, all over the world for that matter. But I have to tell you, I would have, for me, and I'm just talking about just my approach, I would actually hesitate doing that, because like if I lived in Chillicothe, Ohio, like Jen Conley does, who makes a very good living out there as a loan officer, but she has a market share of somewhere around 30% of her entire county. So a third of all purchase loans she funds. So it's impressive, right? But like I live in Tampa Bay, or Khai, I think you're in Austin. If you're in an area like Atlanta, like if you're in an area that's got, I don't know, 500,000 or more, that means you have probably somewhere around 400 to 500 qualified agents that are closing 8 buyer sides or more in the last 12 months. And for me, I'm going to focus right in my backyard, frankly, because it's just easier, and I can, because it's a big enough of an area. Now, if I'm out in the middle of Mississippi where there's not a lot of people, I like the bigger cup thing. But I always thought, there's what's called swamp marketing and well marketing. Swamp marketing is wide but shallow and is kind of muddy, whereas well marketing is a more defined, smaller area but going deep. And I think what Khai's talking about is, you do like swamp marketing and then looking to dig a well inside that swamp. You cast a bigger net to find out who's interesting. I find we don't have to talk to that many people to do a good book of business, because what we do is we just target the real estate agents to make sure. And Khai, you're right, man. If we're calling the same agents we called that were doing 8 buyer sides in the last 12 months, in 2021, this year, those same agents are probably doing 0. And so there's without question been a scale down. But what we do is, I subscribe to a service where they give me a list of qualified agents in my area. They give me 1,000 at a time. I think I pay, I don't know, $800, and they give me 1,000 qualified agents that in the last 12 months have closed 8 buyer sides and more. And we find that we just don't have to call that many to be really super successful with it. And I wrote something down here, and it's just, somebody shared this with me not too long ago, and I just freaking love this. And it says, offers minus no's equals money. Offers minus no's equal money. You want to make more money? Increase your offers. Just simply make more offers. What I used to focus on is, how do I stop the no's? And I learned if you want to stop the no's, make no offers. Make no offers, you'll get no no's. Like, you want to eliminate your no's, make no offers. And just simply make more offers. And so for me, it's just like, find people that can actually refer to you. And I don't know, I'm just a simple guy. We just ask them for referrals. Like, we just come straight out and say, if it's a consumer, anytime you have a friend, family, coworker looking to buy, sell, or refinance, we call that my 3x3. Friends, family, coworkers looking to buy, sell, or refinance. Can I count on you to sending them my way? I'd love to work with your friends too. And for realtors, it's the same thing. It's a version of Scott's closing I think he's the one that said it a few minutes ago, is, hey, can I count on you for the next buyer lead? I'd just love to work with you. That's it. We don't have to come with them, say, I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll do this and I'll do that. You just don't have to do that. And we get a 16% success ratio for that. If I have that conversation with 100 agents, 16 of them start to refer to us. And it's just that simple. And so we find that we can get about, we call it our focus 40, that when we're focused on 40 qualified real estate agents that are doing at least 8 buyer sides more in the last 12 months, and that's a minimum, not a max, that once we have about 40 of them, I personally don't know of anybody that's got 40. We have in our little group, we have what's called and I'm sure the others do too. We have what's called the 2 comma club, where they're making over $1 million. And I don't know anybody that's got a true 40 qualified agents that they're talking with on a weekly basis, not in the 2 comma club with a true 40. But I do believe that you can mix social, like man, if I wanted to get started in social marketing, I would get a list. I'd get a list of 1,000 qualified agents. I'd upload it into Facebook or Instagram. I'd do targeted ads, targeting those people, expecting 0 calls from it. But then when I do make my calls, or when my pre-approval letter comes to Realtor Cindy, and she's been getting my Facebook marketing because she's a qualified agent, that she's much more likely to take my pre-approved borrower, because she goes, oh, I know that guy, even though in this hypothetical situation, she doesn't know me at all. And so I think social media is a really good thing. But I think for me, only for a very, very, very targeted crowd that I've uploaded that list, rather than just a broad, base thing. And I'm real big about, I give a rat's butt about organic. I'm a guy, man, I'm a guy, if I write $10 and cash $100 check, man, I'll wear that machine out. And so for me, it's like buying ads on social media. For me, it's the fast track. It's the way to go, because it's taken me years, to get the kind of following, that all of us enjoy. Man, this did not happen overnight. Like for any of us.
Carl, sometimes you don't recognize your own brilliance, and I'm going to tell you why. There's actually an irony in this, because for one thing, you and I aren't saying opposite things. Okay. What I'm saying is you want depth, but you have to go wide, because sometimes the wells aren't very, very deep. And what you're saying is, if you can actually market, right, target and find individual wells, don't waste your time with all the shallow wells. That's the perfect way to do it too. Yeah. But here's the irony in the situation. I look at our coaching businesses, and I just talked about kind of going wide, and you talk about going narrow. But in our coaching businesses, I can't turn the corner without hearing about the mortgage marketing animals. And you have hundreds of people that you're in front of every single week. When in my coaching business, I'm a targeted coach, right? And so it's kind of interesting that we do it both ways. I mean, Carl is like the master marketer, goes like super, super wide in his coaching business, at the same time. So I don't want anybody to confuse it's one way or the other. It's just that you definitely want to go deep. I think all of us go deep with everything that we do, but you can't beat a shallow well, right? You have to go to.
And I think the biggest thing is just only spend your time talking with somebody that can refer you a deal.
Correct.
And because otherwise, I'm barking up an oak tree looking for apples. It's not going to happen. And so, and worse, what happens is then I tell myself, gee, this realtor marketing or attorney marketing or financial planner marketing, whichever one you like, is not working. No. You're just talking to the wrong people. You have got to subscribe to one of the services, and whichever one you guys, they're all basically the same, but you have got to subscribe to a service where you have the qualified agents that you're talking with, so that when they're the listing agent, or when you're sending a pre-approval letter, if this is a person worthy of your time as far as trying to get their business. Because if you market to real estate agents that are not qualified, you're going to poison your brain thinking that's not a good thing, because you're not getting results from it, and that is absolutely positively not the case. So anyway,
that's crazy that you brought that up, because Scott and I literally talked about that last night at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. We were talking about the people that come into my veteran mortgage advisor program and say, well, there's not enough veterans in my area, or this doesn't work, or I'm pigeonholing myself, or all this kind of stuff. And I was just pointing out the 2 or 3 or 4 students we have in the program that did almost 200 VA transactions last year. And I'm like, guys, do you think they did those 200 or 300 VA transactions within 10 miles of their house? No, they added some states. They found realtors that were producing lots of units. They brought the value into those realtors and added some state licenses. and said, hey, I understand this military relocation process like nobody else. This is why you got to work with my team. So, an example of, like Kai said, raise the presentation level up, raise the level of service up, which I know a lot of you guys have all that in common. And I think, yeah, we shared the Loan Officers Breakfast Club there, but I think that's fantastic, Carl. I would love it if everybody who's following these calls just kind of follows all these guys. This is great info. We got about 15 more minutes. I got to catch Cindy, because Cindy, I think you've only got 10 minutes left. Is that right? And then you got to go.
Yeah, I gotta lead another training, my group.
So even though I said I was going to let TJ talk, I do this on every hangout. I don't let him talk, but I'm going to give it back.
So much fun, Michael.
I get one chance to call. I'll take it. So
this is awesome. I love it. I love it. Hey, really quick, Carl, I just want to say one other thing for those people that are doing paid ads. One of the things that people forget to do, and it's a pretty easy thing to do, is to be able to take your email list and upload it as an audience in Facebook. Like you've got thousands of emails, and most of them are your clients and your realtor partners, and create a custom audience. And many people don't know to do that. And it's a very simple way to build a custom audience to target.
Yeah, I think where people got burned on social media ads is there was some people, let's see, how do I say that? Some people in the past have tried going consumer direct. And man, I have personally spent literally over $1 million of my dollars on Facebook ads trying to crack the code on consumer direct. I'm gonna tell you right now, I mean, somebody here might have that crack. I'd love to hire you and show me how. But what you're talking about is getting your past database, uploading to Facebook, getting a qualified list of agents, uploading them into Facebook, and then running those ads.
I know who's cracked the code on consumer.
Tell me.
Oh, it's Denise Donahue. That's how you do 600 units. The thing about advertisements on Facebook or any type of consumer direct is that I think people have it wrong in the sense that they try to sell something, and she doesn't try to sell. What she does is she simply puts out extremely good information and content to educate, and that becomes viral because she's actually teaching people real things. I mean, she's educating people on the market, and I'm not talking about stuff. Listen, every loan officer is guilty of this. They see a really cool meme. They see what another loan officer posts and they repost it, and they go very, very surface level. Oh, the Fed did something, or rates are going up, but nobody ever goes deep. Nobody ever explains how the CPI index, for example, affects interest rates. Nobody ever explains how she's pricing, like how she'll price with Optimal Blue, and she'll explain the difference between this and that. Nobody's going deep. If you go deep and you stop doing these 30-second TikToks and you start doing, and it seems intimidating, but you do 5-minute really educational videos and really strong 1-minute IG stories, that's how you do consumer direct. And that's how she goes really, really deep on a broad reach.
Well, I agree with that on one hand, because I've interviewed her, and we have a webinar coming up. I put the link in the chat. I'm doing a free webinar with Denise and Deborah, who become very good friends of mine, here on January 24th. And I'm excited about that. But the other thing, Kai, that she has done, as you know, is that she built her mortgage business like Chick-fil-A. And I have one client that's very similar to Denise, and she's a $200 million a year originator, but Denise has done something extraordinary. And the reason she's called the mortgage nerd is because she's actually a mortgage nerd. Like, she's a technology nut. And so she has built systems and processes. She doesn't have partners. I went the partner route. She has 4 LOAs that work for her, and they are all trained in exactly the same system. And people come into a team and they get the same experience regardless of who they work with. And she has created a technological masterpiece of systems and process for the loan experience. So yes, she's got master reach, Kai, you're right, without question. But more importantly, I think when they get to her, the experience is so flawless and so extraordinary that it's amazing. I mean, I think she is definitely one of the most incredible, and to serve 600 families in 2022 is extraordinary regardless. So hats off to her, because she has figured out the combination, and she's a great mom and wife and all that too. So it's a big undertaking, but I get excited to work with people that have cracked some of these codes at a bigger level and how all the pieces working together, and just goes to show how technology can make our lives easier too. So I think, one thing we're not talking about a lot, but I really want to start talking about it more this year is every year, January as an originator and one of the top in the nation, I'd wake up going, okay, what are we going to do this year? Because we're starting over really. And every year is a different market, and it can be fun to think about new innovation, but it's so much about innovation right now, right? How are you going to show up differently? Like you talked about, Scott, being an in-house lender and how, Compass and Guaranteed Rate and then bonded. And I was an in-house lender for 13 and a half years for the largest privately owned real estate company in LA. We still only got 22% market share in-house. And so I tell people just go for the gusto anyway, because 80% of those people are not working with the in-house lender because they're just not you. We just got to outperform the competition. We got to be better. We got to provide more value, right, Carl?
Yeah. or you know what, or just, I don't know, for me, it's just ask more. Like, pardon me, Frank Gray said something the other day that I just loved, and he calls it a new way to say goodbye. So instead of saying, hey, Cindy, man, nice talking to you, I'll talk to you later. All right, bye-bye. Instead of doing that is put a call to action at the end. Say, hey, Cindy, can I count on you anytime one of your friends, family, coworkers looking to buy, sell, or refinance? It just goes back, it's just a simple ask. And I think, the problem with it is we all see marketing where somehow we equate asking for the business as begging or chasing.
Right.
And that's absolute hogwash. That's all said by somebody trying to sell you something. I guarantee you that every single time. That it's just simply whoever, I can tell you right now, of all the people that's on this call, whoever asks for the business the most wins, period. I don't care how old, how experienced, how likable, or whoever asks the most wins, period. So, hey, Cindy, I got a question for you. What's the one activity your top producers did you already mention that was your work in the past database? Is that the number one thing?
Well, work in the past database is one of them, but I also, one of my clients out of Seattle, she has become like a student like I've never seen. She wakes up every morning, she spends an hour educating herself on the market every single day. And then she is on the phone all day long, calling every realtor partner. She has a system around who she calls when, all the ones that she has a relationship with. She's got a huge list of 50 new agents she's focused on. She's been doing coffee webinars, she's doing these, she put together a small slide deck around educating her potential new realtor partners about what's going on in the market, what to expect, how they can prepare their buyers for home ownership. And then she is having Starbucks delivered to the agent's home. She's doing all of them on Zoom, which I think is the coolest thing ever. And she's meeting with about 20 a week. And this is like, it's amazing. This is someone just focused activity on getting in front of more people, because the other thing she knows is that if Barry's right, and if we really see rates drop by end of first quarter, beginning second quarter, she has planted so many seeds that she is set up for massive success in 2023.
Do you think she has to be because I always, anytime I'm on one of these, I think, what are people thinking? And right now, I get it. She knows Barry stuff and all that. I don't know Bear from a bond, Bear from a bull market to whatever. So first I got to go learn all that stuff. And by the time I learn all that stuff, hell, I'll be out of business. So do you think she could talk about just virtually almost anything and get the same results, or do you think it's specific to that?
Well, I think, that wasn't my special gift. I didn't profess to be.
Guarantee it's not mine.
But, I used to get asked to speak on it. I'm like, no, call Barry. That's not my special gift. I go out and listen to Barry every day, but that's not my special gift. But what I did is I used my marketing questions to have those meetings, because it was about them. I'm passionate about marketing, and you don't even have to be passionate about marketing. But for me, I got the same kind of impact with talking about how you're marketing your business. What could I do? Because I offered suggestions if they said they didn't have a CRM or they weren't using a database. I'd go on Google. People think they have to be an expert. No, Google's your best friend, right? I would just Google best databases for realtors, and I'd send them 3 links, and then I'd call them in 3 weeks and say, hey, were you able to get a database set up? Let me come over and help you. I had a client just, in fact, recently, I did one of my marketing meetings on Zoom with a fairly new agent, 3 years in, very successful though, super hungry. And she was so excited by the time we hung up, and she goes, when can we do that again? She goes, that's amazing. But one of the things she said she's not doing is video like she should be doing. And she used to do it. She got away from it during COVID. And I don't have any time in my life, but I couldn't help myself. It's like being on the front line again. And I said, Nicole, I said, what's holding you back? And she goes, well, I just don't know what to say. I don't like the way I look. I I said, what if I come over to your house? She's local. So what if I come over to your house and we'll brainstorm 10 1-minute video ideas and I'll film you. And she's like, you would do that for me? And I'm like, yeah, I would do that for you. And she's like, oh my God. She goes, I would be so intimidated. But, you know, Bill Hill's dad used to always say the best way to build a realtor relationship is to do something scary together, you know, and so
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be the financial markets, but it can be
Yeah.
something that what are your 3 greatest strengths?
You know, creating that's what I was saying earlier, Cindy, like creating videos, and that's a really good idea. Creating videos and creating content. It doesn't have to be like you're sitting in front of a studio and like producing something. Just get on a Zoom with a realtor and just have a conversation about different topics, record it. And like, that's your content, you know, just have a couple questions. And that's why I say, if you can record everything that you do, you have instant content. I think that, and you know, and here's the funny thing is, I think it's a generational thing, because I think like the older generation, we have like this tendency to see very, very well produced things. So we automatically think well produced, but I'm going to tell you right now, the younger generation doesn't have a problem with video. They don't. Okay. So you're not talking about a 32-year-old originator having problems with video. It's usually an older generation. It's because they're used to that. It's really, really well produced. So just, you know, use it's just like a Ted Donahue. I'll use like older people. You're just having an interview with them. Sometimes when I want to do a video, I don't want to sit and record just blank into a screen. I'll just call one of my coaches and I'll say, hey, let's just talk about the strategy together. And I'll do a 2-person video and then send it out. That's super easy to do.
Right.
And by the way, Carl, what you said about asking for the business, this is like the analogy that I use. Have you ever gone after a realtor, or guys, have you ever gone after a girl and you're like working, and all of a sudden you realize that realtor or that girl is like dating somebody else? It's because they asked for the business, they asked for the date, and you didn't.
Yeah.
You just stayed in the friend zone the whole time.
It's really that simple. And I think this thing we get into is like, well, I have to bring something of value. But I always, dude, the thing you bring of value is you. Like you're the thing of value. And I'll never forget this one time I met with this agent, top producing agent, and I was looking to get his business, first meeting. And I just simply, I asked one question. I don't remember what the question was. It was something like, you know, hey, I saw your numbers, the report of, you know, how do you do it? Like, how do you get in all your business? And I'm telling you, this dude went on literally a 20-minute monologue. I thought he had a blowhole in the back of his neck. I never saw him take a breath. I mean, it was just unbelievable, right? And so I'm just sitting there, yeah, okay, wow, really, you know, and that's it. And he had a lot to say, right? It was all good stuff. At the end of that conversation, which I didn't say, like literally probably 150 words, which is hard for me, right? So at the end of that conversation, he said, Carl, you're fascinating. Absolutely, we can work together. It's like, dude, I didn't say anything about me. I just listened to him talking. So I just asked a simple question. So I found the secret to relationships. It just simply ask questions, shut up, which is a challenge, and listen. And then at the end of that, say, hey, man, Khai, it's easy to see why you do such great business, man. Could I count on you for the next buyer lead? I'd love to work with you. I don't want to work your deals. I don't want to help you build your business. I want to work with you.
That's the easiest question to ask. And that's why I wanted Scott, you to share it and Carl to share it, because I get asked that all the time. Like, how do you you're just going to go, give me your next deal? I said, well, of course you're not going to say, give me your next deal, but there is a language that
I do. That's exactly what I say.
Well, but you said it with a little more flair, Carl.
Well, hey, you know, can I count on you for the next buyer lead? I'd really like to work with you, Cindy. That's it. I mean, that's my value proposition. My thing of bringing value is I want to work with you, which who wouldn't want to work with Cindy, right? But I want to work with you, and that is my value.
You guys, I want to make sure you just heard what he said, because what you said has been some of my secret sauce my whole career. And that's why I lead a training now called Connection to Conversion Part 1. And that's how to conduct a first meeting. And people, when they first do it, they think it's so strange, but it's a series of 40 questions to ask a realtor. And there's not one question that's in there about you. And that first meeting, and what you just said, Carl, is all you do is ask questions. Yeah. And it is amazing. I've got so many stories around this, but I remember having a meeting with a guy that didn't want to meet with me. He said he'd give me 1 hour. We were going to lunch, and I did my strategy with him. And at the end of the lunch, he never once asked about my mortgage company or what we did. Not one question came up about mortgage. I didn't even
care.
And at the end,
if they ask, they're just being polite. Right? They don't care.
I wasn't even going to say this, but I'm opening a new real estate company in 30 days. I have 15 agents already on board. I think I'd really like to talk to you about being my in-house lender. And I just had to laugh. I'm like, okay, there's the gold right there. I didn't even talk about mortgage, and he's asking me to be his in-house lender. It's about them and asking quality questions. I just wanted to highlight that, Carl, because that was such a big part of my special sauce too. And it works. Amazing.
Maybe that's why the realtors are so hard to get appointments with sometimes, because they're
They're
just
not
so
hard.
nice.
Yeah.
It's not hard. It's not hard to get the appointments. It's not hard at all.
Isn't it crazy that we're talking about Facebook marketing and all kinds of casting a wide net? But really what it comes back to is like, the more things change, the more they stay the same. That's like the first axiom I learned in sales. Like, don't be interesting, be interested, ask more questions than you answer, and somehow like everything will be fine. Right. It's like it all gets taken care of. Sorry, something happened there with the pin. And you know, it's funny. I have this sign up here because I have super shiny object syndrome. So I have this sign that sits up right behind my computer, and it says, "Seek not what's new, but rather what's true." And the reality is, there's only going to be one mortgage nerd. There's only going to be one Shayla Gifford. There's only going to be one Brian Minkow. Like I'm not built to do 500 or 1,000 units a year. But for most people on this call, you know, 200 units a year is going to change their life and change their financial picture. And I would just, to protect your own psyche for everybody that watch this call, venture out, do something new, do something that you learned, but also remember what's true, like what works for you. You can double down on that. And what Carl's been saying, we kind of have the same language, Carl. I always say, hey, if you know anybody who's looking to buy, sell, or refinance a house, I'd love to be their first call. That's on the footer of our email. I make my LOA say that, but we also have to protect our psyche, because I know the one client, Carol, who complained to my number one agent, Kenya, that, you know, I don't like this Scott guy. It seemed really presumptuous that he would want a referral, and I haven't even sent him my paperwork or my application yet. I'm going to go with somebody else. One time out of tens of thousands of email and thousands of times that we said that, hey, if you know anybody else who's looking to buy, sell, or refinance a house, we'd love to be here as a resource for their first call. That one time, it stuck with me for weeks. It like crushed my soul. I couldn't lead generate for weeks because I wasn't protecting my psyche. So I just wanted to, my closing thought for everybody, anything that you're going to try, there's going to be that one outlier. There's going to be that one pain in the ass. There's going to be that one naysayer, the one complainer. Don't let that stop you from continuing to do the things that you know are going to get you business, whether it's Facebook ads or asking for more business or annual mortgage reviews or casting a wide net. Like, somebody's going to tell you look fat on social media. Maybe you are fat, maybe you're not, but don't let that derail you from like actually doing the activity. Because with everything in this business, I know from experience, it only takes like one negative interaction to derail our train, but we got to keep that thing on the tracks. So that was my closing thought there, Fish, because I already want to sign up for all these coachings and do this and do that because I have like massive shiny object syndrome. But I just know for myself, if I go call 10 realtors a day, post 3 times a day on social media, stay in touch with my past database, like we will right the ship and we'll fund 100 million this year. It's like, it's going to be fine.
It's good. So there's so many things in common with what all you guys are saying, even though you have slightly different styles and slightly different things that you might focus on, or even different types of producers. And you know, there's more than one way to go about it, but yes, realtors have proven over time to be one of the easiest and best ways for us to build lots of connections.
Well, you know,
build
keep in mind,
connections.
67% of all purchase deals go with the loan officer, the real estate agent recommended. So it's like, why would I go after the 33%? Doesn't make any sense. Or for me, it doesn't.
Yeah, but there's lots of things out there. Like you can use tech to get in front of more realtors, and I mean you can use leads to get in front of more realtors. I know that's what TJ does all the time, but it's a slightly different approach. You know, sometimes it's some LOs don't like getting on the phone. Some LOs have found success never being on the phone. I have an LO that I coach right now, never ever calls a realtor, but he's happy. He's doing 20 million. He's doing it all with CRMs, emails, videos, that kind of stuff, and you know, classes too. But
I mean, not all LOs are built the same, and
Nope.
and the reality is that, you know, these 3 coaches, they're not my competition, they're my friends, because we tend to take on different styles and we tend to take different demographics of people. I mean, there are people that, you know, I tell my clients all the time, if you're deathly afraid of technology, I'm not the coach for you. But if you are, and you feel like that's going to be your advantage in this changing market, then I am the coach for you, right? And it just depends, right? Carl's not going to necessarily depend on technology, and there's a lot of people that are going to want that approach, and he's wildly successful doing that. But that's the thing about even coaching, just like loan officers, there's different demographics, and so, but again, that's marketing. It's like understanding what demographics you're going after, understanding what you're trying to do. Because remember, you only need, I mean, most of us, if we did 100 units a year, that's a really, really great living. And that's such a small fraction. This is not like a webinar to the entire loan officer population in existence. This is like to 400, 500 people. And if these 400, 500, 500 people did 100 units, and so we're giving them the best strategies, and then, they fall into different slices. Some people are going to like what Scott's saying. Some people are going to like what Cindy's saying, myself and Carl, that we're going to go crush it. And that's the reality. Right. So, and there is, and again, I don't know, maybe because I'm Asian, I'm just like a super overachiever. I like want to do everything. Like, yeah, I want to do basic, I want to do advanced, I want to like carry like this big load, but I say there's different levels though, because you're going to want to build your business, you're going to want to build your systems, you're going to want to build your presentations, but it takes time. Okay. And so if it's going to take you 2 months to really build a systematic thing and to build this like really grandiose presentation, you can't go 2 months not asking for business. You still got to ask for business along the way. It's like people that like want to get in shape and they want to look good. Look, it's going to take you at least 3-4 months to look good and to buy that suit. But does that mean that you're just going to do nothing, or are you still going to be social and you're going to still meet people and you're going to have friends during that time? You know what I mean? Because then you're going to find out once you get there, having a buff body ain't going to necessarily get you, get you more looks, right? But because then you'll realize, wait, it's my personality, but this adds to it. And so that's the thing about building a business, and it's all about scaling.
So this is so tricky. We're at this point, like, who's going to talk last? I mean, we all like to talk last. I know I do. I know, Carl, you do, Kai do, like literally Scott messaged me, hey, I want to go last. Like everyone wants to go last, but this is perfect.
I'm good. I love you guys. I'll see you in the new year. I hope to see you all in Vegas.
I got one more super quick. You got like 10 seconds in this, and then we're going to record this. We're going to send it out to everybody. As long as all the attendees are okay, I'm going to pass the emails along to all these coaches. I mean, these are people that contribute to MLOnet, that contribute so much to the industry. There's lots of things that they do to help. And again, not all of them are paid, but some of the stuff you got to pay for it. But either way, when can we next find Cindy, Carl, Scott, Kai, TJ? Like, where are we going to find you next? Like, do we have to go on a program? We're going to see an event. Like, what would you want people to do that wanted to come see you? Kai, I want to come see you. I want to be part of it. Where do I go? All right, Kai, you go first. And I'll just go around the circle.
Yeah, I just gave my link tree. So there is information about my coaching, but I'm doing 2 webinars coming up. One is how to attract your next 50 realtors, and one is how to get your next 10 loans. And so those are immediate webinars that you can attend, because I think right now that's what people want, right? Like, how do I attract the next 50 realtors, and how do I get the next 10 loans? Or if you just want to friend me on Facebook, Instagram, and just DM me, we can have a conversation for free. If you Google Khai Mcbride, search Khai Mcbride, I'm the only Khai Mcbride in the world. I'm pretty easy to find. But there's my link tree. I put it in the chat.
Perfect. All right, Scott, where are we going to find you next?
Easiest place, man, is Vegas. We're doing a live event. February 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I think that is. Yeah. No, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. That's it. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So we've got a live event, probably about 100 people coming. And yeah, I love live events because I just feel like there's a camaraderie and a pace there that is great. I will also put my link tree in the chat box. And like, I always get good tech ideas from Kai. First, I stole the link tree, and then I never thought to be like, hey, maybe I should like put upcoming live events on there. So there's everything on my link tree, from my not safe for work, not mortgage related podcast, all the way up to like booking a call with us on our coaching. So link tree's there. And if anybody wants to come to Vegas, I don't know, DM Fisher. He's got like a discount code that I gave him.
Well, Scott, I will be there, and I will be presenting, and I'm going to be teaching a segment that I call knowledge-based marketing, which Cindy talked about. Denise, I'm never going to be at Denise's level, but I'm going to try to, I try to pick a level that LOs who maybe aren't quite as high as Denise and aren't quite as intense can learn, but can still go out and do presentations and be known for being, high level at something, just kind of like Denise. And that's what I'll be presenting at that Vegas event. I got to plug myself at least once, right? So
absolutely, Michael.
All right, Carl, where are folks going to find you?
We do a thing every Monday through Thursday from 8:30 a.m. till 9 a.m. It's called Loan Officer Breakfast Club. It's totally free. It's an open Zoom meeting. We get, I don't know, this morning we had, I think, a little over 400 people, loan officers on there, and it's totally free. There's no charge, no credit card, no anything. So you go to breakfastclubzoom.com, breakfastclubzoom.com. And all we do, we'll be on there tomorrow morning. All we do is we go on there and everybody, you know, we share what's working, what's not. And it's like the loan officer world's biggest Brady Bunch, you know, thing. And it's amazing on how organized it is, even with so many people on. It's really good stuff. We do it for a full 30 minutes from 8:30 to 9, and then we're done at 9 o'clock. That way you can actually go do what we talk about that morning. So each day is a theme day of here's the activity to do today. And we go over the scripts and rebuttals and role play. And then somebody talks about, you know, a couple people talk about the challenges they had the day before and rebuttal. So it's really cool stuff. So great stuff. Loanofficerbreakfastclub.com. And then
It's so good. It's so good. You guys are really doing good with that.
And it's led by a dear friend of mine, a friend of all of ours. My suspicion is Frank Garay from the Think Big, Work Small days. So he adds a wonderful flavor to it. But that's not near as cool as Cindy. Where do they find you?
They find me, and I got to jump. I got to go lead my training. Thanks, Carl. You can find me at a couple of places. One, I put the link in twice here in the chat for the webinar that I'm doing, complimentary webinar with Denise Donahue and Deborah Bird. It's really going to be focused on like the 3 pillars to lead a successful mortgage business. And agreed, Michael, not everybody's going to want to be a Denise, but the reality is, I always say you can leave with 2 or 3 things that you want to up level in your business to make some simple shifts that'll really change the game. And obviously her sister, they're twins. Deborah Bird is a marketing guru for mortgage professionals. So she's going to train on how to really expand your social media presence. So that's January 24th, free to everybody. And the link is in the chat. And then secondly, I'm going to be at Momentum Builder, February 6th through 8th in Las Vegas. And that's going to be a really fun event. So go to momentumbuilder.com. We'd love to see you there. DM me if you're going to go, because I'd love to get together and say hi. Barry's going to be presenting. Renee Rodriguez is going to be presenting. Ryan Grant's going to be presenting. We've got a really great lineup of speakers. So that's going to be a super high energy event that'll really, I think, help people kick it off strong. So, and I've got to jump, but I want to say thank you, Michael. Thanks to be with you. Khai, so good to see you, my friend. Carl, great to be with you as always.
A pleasure.
And really, really fun. Congratulations, all of you. And let's make it a great 2023.
Thank you all. You guys are the best. We appreciate you. Thank you for interacting in MLO Network. All of you coaches are welcome to interact in MLO Network whenever you want. We appreciate all the things that you do.
Hey, Fish, I just will say you're a class act, brother. You're a good man, really.
Hey,
You're a
if you
good
want to
man, so-
invite me to one of your events, Kai, you need to do an event soon. TJ, you need to do an event soon. Carl,
I'll do
you
it
need
in
to do
April.
events. All right.
Thank you for inviting me. Apparently, I'm the oldest coach here, you know?
Yeah, we have to have somebody for the senior citizens. So I appreciate y'all. We will catch you on the other side and inside the Facebook groups.